Greetings, my loves. This is Annette of AnnetteLeonard.com, back with Chronic Wellness. Thanks for joining me. I am continuing my series about alternative medical therapies. And today I want you to join with me and suspend your judgment if you are able, because I'm going to talk about something that might seem pretty out there or rather woo in the realm of woo woo to many of you. And maybe it's something you've heard of, but I suspect for many of you it might not be. I'm going to talk to you about the practice of earthing or grounding. So this is a practice that has been around for a surprisingly long time, but it's something that I just learned of in the last couple of weeks. But there is medical data, studies that have been done on this practice that dates back, I want to say 30 to 40 years, and there are more than 20 medical papers that have been written about the practice. And so I was quite surprised that it had not come to my consciousness, come into my awareness until so very recently. So it is the practice, quite simply, of putting your bare skin on the earth. So for most of us, that is our bare feet. The idea for this came because of the fact that for millennia, humans walked the earth with probably nothing on their feet, and then eventually rudimentary shoes, but certainly not shoes like we wear today that stopped our feet from having the ability to conduct between our feet and the earth. And the notion stemmed from the fact that in our modern world, we are receiving all manner of wave particles in our body, some of them natural, some of them artificial. So an example of natural wave particles would be the ultraviolet light that we receive from the rays of the sun. Also, sonic waves that come to us from the birds and other natural sounds in our environment. And examples of the many non-natural wave particles would be things like electromagnetic waves from the myriad of electronic devices that we surround ourselves with. And of course, as I'm talking to you right now, I'm sitting in front of a microphone, in front of a camera, next to a light that's emitting waves all at me. In addition to things like Wi-Fi in our home, cellular communication devices, etc. ad nauseum. And the idea was, we're taking in so many of these wave particles and we don't have ways of discharging them. So here in the US, our outlets and outlets around the world bear these same hallmarks. They just look slightly different than ours do. Our electrical outlets in our homes typically have two vertical slots and one little, not quite circular, but a circular slot usually below those. So in sort of a triangle pattern. And those two vertical slots, as we well know, we plug all manner of electrical devices into. And if we want something to be grounded, like a surge protector or often our computers and other high power electronic devices, they usually have a third prong that goes into that grounded wire function. And much in the same principle, these researchers are saying our bodies too need to be grounded. And so the idea is that when our bodies just touch the earth, we start discharging these waveforms that we have been absorbing. And the data proves out in all sorts of interesting ways, from the simple experiments that you and I would be able to do by just attaching devices to us that would read the amount of electronic energy ambient in our bodies at any given moment, and then take off our shoes, step on the earth, and radically see those numbers drop pretty quickly to zero. So having electrical energy in our body that gets discharged when we step on the earth. So that's an interesting data point in and of itself. Two, these wide arrays of studies that have shown that when people spend as little as 10 minutes twice a day with their bodies on the earth, and this can be barefoot or laying on a blanket in the grass, those kinds of things, inflammation and pain is tremendously reduced. I'm going to say that again. When people spend as little as 10 minutes a day with their body touching earth without these conduction resistant soles of shoes or other things like cement, mitigating that contact, inflammation and pain is radically reduced. Y'all, the pictures and studies are astonishing. I heard about this in a seminar and was highly suspicious of what the data was. So I went and looked it up for myself. Then there's a movie called Earthing that is free on YouTube. If you have an hour and a half and want to go watch it, I recommend it. Where they can show infrared studies of inflammation in the body before and after, where they can show things like thickness of the blood being transformed by people spending time touching the earth, where they have data about people's ability to transform their metabolism and lose weight by doing nothing but touching the earth twice a day over a series of weeks. I mean, truly, I'm absolutely gobsmacked by this, as you can tell by the way I'm speaking about it. And it's not something that I have known about for long enough to try it for myself, but I'm incredibly curious about whether or not you've heard about earthing. I'm so curious what your experiences have been if you've tried it. I am definitely thinking about the fact that there's not a child in my life who didn't already know to be barefoot and wasn't happier spending time in the backyard than inside in a playroom. I think about how therapeutic gardening is for almost everyone I know who's ever done it. All of these kind of indicators about how the natural world heals us in ways that we probably don't even realize are more than just psychological. So, one more way Big Pharma doesn't want us to know about these things. I mean, these studies have been out for most of my life, and yet I heard about them 2 weeks ago. So, pretty interesting, the dissemination of knowledge. Earthing, grounding. Curious indeed. One more alternative therapy, one more path up the mountain that is healing. Tell me if you've heard about it. Sound off. I'm interested in your experiences. As ever, I would love it if you would like or subscribe. Send this video to others who might need the information, or share it with friends to find out if they know about earthing as a practice of healing. As ever, I most want to hear from you, know about your experiences, hear your questions and comments. So feel free to be in touch. And until we're together again, I thank you so much for your time, and be well.